Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. Let me tell you what happened the night silence hurt more than screaming ever could. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She didn't even blink. She just said it, calm as glass, and then took another sip of wine like she hadn't just set our entire life on fire with 9 words. The candle flickered. I remember that clearly, because right after she said it, a small curl of wax dripped down and hit the tablecloth, and for a split second I wondered if it would burn a hole through it. Funny what your brain clings to when your heart is free-falling. She set her glass down. Her fork rested sideways on the edge of the plate. She wasn't looking at me anymore. And the words, those god-awful words, kept bouncing around in my skull like a ricochet bullet. I don't think I'm attracted to you anymore, Tucker. There. I said it. Now you're caught up. The rest? It's a blur. I didn't ask her to explain. Didn't ask who. Didn't cry or demand anything. I stood up, left my jacket on the chair, and walked straight out of that stupid, overpriced restaurant where I thought we were celebrating her promotion. I'm not a brave man. I'm not clever, or funny, or strong. I'm not the guy who slams the table or throws a drink. I'm the guy who walks out quietly and doesn't sleep for 3 nights straight replaying one moment over and over until it becomes a sickness in your chest. I didn't even make it home. I ended up in a parking garage across town, sitting in the back seat of my car like some pathetic sitcom character. Only there was no laugh track, just the sound of the engine ticking in the cold. And the worst part? She didn't call. Not that night. Not the next morning. It's like she knew I'd heard enough. But I hadn't. Because 3 days later, when I came back to pack my things, I found him. And that's when the story really started. When I walked back into the apartment, everything smelled like her perfume, orange blossom and vanilla. It used to make me feel warm, safe even. But now, it hit me like a lie I hadn't caught yet. The kind that floats in the air and clings to your clothes long after the truth's been told. I wasn't there to talk. I wasn't there to fight. I had come to get a duffel bag, my chargers, and whatever dignity I had left. She was supposedly at work, or maybe with him, whoever he was. She still hadn't called. No texts. No, are you okay? No, we need to talk. Just that one sentence at dinner. And then, silence. The lights were off. The place was too clean. That should have been my first clue. But what really got me was the shoebox on the bed. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't locked. It was just there. Right in the center of the bed, like she wanted me to see it. Like she knew I'd come back eventually, and curiosity would crush me harder than her confession ever could. I should have walked out. I didn't. I sat on the edge of the mattress, hands trembling like a kid who knows he's about to find something bad, but opens the door anyway. And when I opened that box, I swear, my lungs forgot how to work. There were photos, dozens of them, printed, not digital, not hidden on some cloud server or password-protected app. Printed, like souvenirs from a trip she didn't think I deserved to know about. Her, and a man, different cities, beaches, hotel balconies, a cabin in the mountains, the same one I took her to 2 winters ago. Only this time, she was wearing a sweater I'd never seen before, and smiling a smile that didn't belong to me anymore. At the bottom of the stack was a card, a birthday card. It wasn't mine. To Lorna, I can't wait until we stop hiding. You deserve to live out loud. G. That was it. Just a single initial. G. But it burned hotter than a full name ever could. Because suddenly, every friend, every coworker, every harmless guy she'd mentioned casually, they all became suspects. He's just a friend, memory started to rot from the inside out. I don't know how long I sat there. I don't remember if I cried. I do remember picking up my phone and dialing her number, and then hanging up before it rang. I couldn't bring myself to hear her voice. Not yet. I shoved the box under my arm and left. No bag, no chargers, no note. Just the shoebox and my crumbling heart, which felt heavier than anything I'd ever carried. By the time I reached the elevator, I already knew what I was going to do next. I was going to find out who G was. And I was going to find out how long my wife had been planning to erase me from her story. I couldn't sleep that night. Not even in the hotel bed that smelled like bleach and cardboard. I kept turning the shoebox over in my mind, like maybe there was a false bottom, a hidden clue, something I missed. But the truth was already rotting in plain sight. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was archiving the affair like it was something to be proud of. The name G looped in my head, over and over, like a taunt. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I already know who it was? But see, Lorna was calculated. Quiet. She didn't post online. She barely mentioned coworkers by name. Every part of her life was separated into compartments, and I guess I was the one marked temporary. Still, she made one mistake. She never changed her laptop password. I only remembered it because I used to borrow her MacBook when mine crashed. Same password for years, the name of her childhood cat, and her birth year. Honestly, it was muscle memory. I wasn't even planning to open it when I walked back into the apartment the next morning. I had told myself I'd just grab my things and disappear. But the box was gone, and something in me snapped. The laptop was on the kitchen counter, lid half open. Like bait. I opened it, heart thudding like I was committing a federal crime. Mail. Messages. Calendar. She'd logged out of most things, or maybe deleted them, but one window was still open. An email thread, labeled Friday Plans Clinking Glasses. I clicked it, and there he was. Gregory Whitman. The name smacked me across the face. Not because I knew him well, but because I did. Sort of. He was the regional manager from her company's Chicago branch. Visited once, 2 years ago. Balding, smug. Always wore bow ties like he thought he was special. She said he was annoying. Mocked him, actually. Said he talked too much and made everyone uncomfortable at conferences. Liar. He wasn't annoying to her. He was her escape plan. The messages were careful. No photos. No explicit talk. But the intimacy was baked into every sentence. The kind of quiet emotional infidelity that grows like mold, slow, suffocating. There were references to our time away and the lake cabin, and a chilling note about her wanting to rebuild somewhere with less noise. I knew what that meant. I was the noise. I took screenshots. Not out of revenge. Not yet. But because I needed to prove to myself that I wasn't crazy. That this wasn't some nightmare I'd wake up from. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I forwarded it all to myself. All of it. I closed the laptop, washed my hands even though they weren't dirty, and left that apartment one final time. I knew I couldn't unsee any of it. Couldn't undo the fact that my wife had emotionally moved on years ago. But what I hadn't expected was that Gregory wasn't the only one. Because later that night, a message pinged on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. And it said, "If you're Lorna's husband, you should probably know what happened in Austin last fall." I stared at the message for 10 straight minutes, thumb hovering over the screen like it might bite me. If you're Lorna's husband, you should probably know what happened in Austin last fall. No name. No punctuation. Just cold, vague dread in digital form. I read it again and again until the words stopped making sense. I checked the number, unlisted. The area code wasn't Chicago. It was Texas. Austin. I didn't reply right away. Honestly, I was scared. Not of the truth, but of how much more truth I could physically take before something inside me snapped. I had already seen photos, read her emails, learned Gregory's name. But now there was another one. Another lie I had unknowingly carried on my back. Finally, I typed, "Who is this?" No response. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 15. I stared at the screen until the brightness made my eyes water. Then suddenly, 3 dots appeared. Typing. My stomach coiled up like a knot soaked in acid. The reply came in pieces, like the sender was trying to hold back and failing. Name's Drew. I met her at a tech summit in Austin last September. I didn't know she was married. She never said. She told me she was separated. We saw each other for about 3 weeks. Thought it was casual. Then I found out who she really was. I read those lines and felt like someone poured cement into my lungs. She lied to him, too. He didn't even know she had a husband. She told him we were separated. The same month she had told me she was just traveling for a leadership workshop. I remember helping her pack for that trip. She cried in the hallway because her zipper broke and she was late for her flight. I kissed her forehead and told her to go change the world. What a joke. I messaged back, asking how he found me. He said, "I saw her tagged in an old LinkedIn post. Recognized the last name. Looked you up. I figured you deserve to know." Drew wasn't angry. He wasn't trying to expose her for drama. He sounded embarrassed. Like he was used. Like I was. That made 2 of us. Maybe more. I asked him if they slept together. He waited a while to answer. Then he said, "Yeah, twice. I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. I wouldn't have." I didn't even get mad. Not at him. I couldn't. I was too numb. But in that moment, it hit me like a truck. Lorna hadn't just cheated emotionally. She hadn't just flirted with the future. She had physically stepped out. With multiple men. In multiple cities. all while kissing me goodbye, texting me, "I love you," and asking if we should get a dog next year. And then something even worse crossed my mind. How many others were there? Because if Drew hadn't messaged me, I would have never known about Austin, never known he existed. Just like I hadn't known about Gregory until I opened that laptop. My wife had an entire parallel life running under the floorboards of our marriage. Carefully hidden, selectively revealed. And now, for the first time in years, I realized just how little I actually knew the woman I married. But if I thought the messages were hard to read, nothing prepared me for what I was about to hear. Because Drew? He didn't just tell me about Austin. He had screenshots, and one of them had my name in it. I thought I'd seen the worst of it. But it turns out there's a special kind of devastation when you see your name, typed by your wife, in a message to another man. Drew sent me the screenshots the next morning. I don't know what I expected, maybe just casual texts or vague flirting. But what I saw? It gutted me worse than anything Gregory's emails ever could. There were 5 screenshots. 5. Each one timestamped from different days during her work trip in Austin. The first few were standard, her telling Drew she liked his laugh, asking if he wanted to grab coffee after the next day's keynote. Innocent enough on the surface. But then came the 4th one, the one where she typed my name. "He's too passive to ever leave. I think that's why I stayed married so long. Tucker is safe, not satisfying." That sentence, that exact sentence broke me. I had always known I wasn't exciting. I wasn't the guy with the big career or the six-pack abs or the party stories. I was just stable, reliable. The man who paid bills on time, remembered to buy oat milk because she hated regular dairy, and texted her drive safe every time she left the house. Apparently, that made me disposable. She called me safe. Like I was a life insurance policy she got tired of paying into. And not satisfying? I didn't even want to know what that meant. I didn't need a breakdown of how I ranked next to Drew or Gregory or whoever else she collected like vacation souvenirs. It was already clear. I was the life she wanted to escape. And worse, she never had the decency to end it honestly. I wanted to scream, throw my phone, rip every framed photo off the wall. But instead, I sat on the hotel floor for 2 hours, just holding that device like it was made of glass and gilt. Somewhere in the middle of that spiral, I noticed something else in the 5th screenshot, a calendar invite, shared between her and Drew, titled, "Sunday, Goodbye Brunch Yellow Heart." The date matched the morning she flew back to me. That night, she came home smiling, humming while she unpacked her carry-on. She brought me a stupid keychain that said, "Keep Austin weird," and kissed my cheek like nothing ever happened. I remember she asked if I wanted to order Thai and watch reruns. I said yes, because I didn't know any better. Now I did. I messaged Drew again, asked if they were still in contact. He replied, "No." She ghosted me after that trip. I only found out she was married a few weeks later from someone at the summit. I'm sorry, man. I wish I had better answers. I thanked him, told him he did the right thing. But that didn't erase the truth. It didn't fix the screaming silence that now lived between my ears. And it didn't fix the fact that my wife, the woman I thought I knew, had been playing roles in other people's lives while erasing me from her own. But here's the strange part. As I sat there replaying everything, the fork, the box, the emails, the messages, something shifted. The shame that had wrapped around my ribs for weeks, it started to loosen. And in its place, something colder started to rise. Not anger. Not yet. But resolve. Because if she thought I was too passive to leave, she was about to find out just how quietly I could disappear. And how loud that silence would echo when I did. I didn't pack my bags in a rage. There was no dramatic suitcase slam. No storming around throwing socks into a duffel like in some made-for-TV meltdown. I folded each shirt slowly. I charged my toothbrush. I even rolled my belt instead of just stuffing it. Because if I was going to leave, I wanted the silence of it to haunt her. I wanted her to come home to a quiet apartment and feel something was wrong before she even noticed what was missing. She wasn't home that week. A wellness retreat, upstate, according to her calendar. Probably another affair. Maybe with a hiking instructor or a guy who taught yoga and whispered about healing energy. Honestly, I didn't care who it was anymore. The point was, she was gone, and I had a window. I used it. I didn't just pack my things. I erased myself. Slowly, methodically. Like a ghost cleaning up before vanishing. I logged out of every smart home device. I disconnected my name from the internet bill, the lease, the shared Spotify account where I used to make her playlists. I left the couch, the TV, the bookshelf. I wanted her to sit with all of it and feel like something vital was missing but couldn't quite say what. But I left her a note. Not a breakup letter. Not a scream. Just a folded piece of paper under her favorite mug in the kitchen. It said, "You're right. You deserve more than safe. I deserve more than fake." That's it. Let her interpret it. Let her show it to Gregory or Drew or whoever and ask, "What do you think he meant?" Because I wasn't going to give her the closure she gave herself by cheating and lying her way into a fantasy life. I was done being the man who absorbed pain just to keep her comfortable. And then came the hardest part, telling no one. I didn't go to my friends. I didn't tell my parents. Not yet. Because I knew if I did, they'd try to talk me into staying, or worse, forgiveness. People make mistakes, they'd say. Maybe it was just a phase. They didn't see what I saw, didn't read what I read, didn't sit in a car at 2 a.m., listening to their heart crack open like ice in spring. I moved into a sublet on the other side of the city. Small, quiet, no framed photos, no lingering perfume in the carpet, just walls, blank and honest. 2 days later, she finally texted me. "Where are you?" That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, can we talk? Just a demand wrapped in concern. I stared at it for a while, then turned my phone over on the nightstand. I didn't reply. She sent 5 more messages over the next few hours. Then a call. Then a voicemail. "Tucker, I don't know what's going on. If this is about the retreat, I can explain. Please call me." No mention of Austin. No mention of Gregory. No mention of the words she typed about me being safe. Just immediate deflection. Panic, maybe. Or control. But the thing is, I wasn't that version of Tucker anymore. I wasn't the guy begging for breadcrumbs of affection. I wasn't waiting for her to validate my pain or spin another story. I was planning something she wouldn't see coming. Something that wouldn't hurt her the way she hurt me, but would finally give me peace in a way no confrontation ever could. It took her 4 days to find my new address. I'm guessing she called my boss, or maybe guessed based on the last forwarding info she saw years ago. Either way, I was brushing my teeth when I heard the knock. Not pounding, just a hesitant, rhythmless knock, the kind that sounds more like guilt than urgency. I didn't answer at first, just stood there, staring at the door like it was alive. Then came her voice. Muffled. Soft. "Tucker, I don't know what's going on. Please, just talk to me." I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just listened. There was something off in her voice. It wasn't sadness, not the real kind. It was panic tangled up in self-preservation. Like someone trying to protect a story, not a person. She stood out there for maybe 10 minutes. Said she was worried. Said she missed me. Said things like, "If you're hurting, we can fix it." But never once did she say, "I did something wrong." And that was all I needed to hear. Eventually, I heard her footsteps walk away. A few minutes later, my phone lit up. A text. "I know something's going on. Just tell me what I did. I'm losing my mind." I read it, reread it, and then I did something that surprised even me. I replied, one sentence. "Check your laptop." That was it. She still hadn't changed the password. I knew she wouldn't. That's the thing about people who lie. They're lazy when they think they're smarter than you. Before I left, I had copied her emails to a folder, labeled it Wellness Retreat Packing List, and left it on her desktop. It had everything. Her messages to Gregory, the Austin screenshots Drew sent me, and even a note I typed, just one line. "The man you're losing was the one who already lost you." I shut my phone off after I sent the text. Sat in the dark, phone face down, heart oddly calm. Not triumphant. Not vengeful. Just steady. I thought that would be the end of it. But the next day, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A physical letter slid under my door in a white envelope with my name scribbled on the front like she was writing it through tears. Inside was a mess of words. Confessions. Excuses. Denials pretending to be honesty. She said she was scared, that she'd felt invisible in our marriage, that she never meant to hurt me. The classic line people use when they do things that require intention. She tried to say Gregory was a mistake. Said Austin never meant anything. Claimed Drew was a moment of emotional confusion. And then, in the last paragraph, the sentence that hit harder than all of it. "You disappearing without a word felt crueler than anything I've done." That was when I laughed. Actually laughed. Because the woman who broke me piece by piece over years was now calling me cruel for not letting her finish the performance. I didn't write back. I didn't answer the calls that followed. But deep down, I knew she wasn't done. She wouldn't let go that easily. Because someone like Lorna doesn't like losing, even when she's the one who caused it. And sure enough, what came next wasn't another message. It was a visit from someone I hadn't seen in years. Someone who knew both of us. And they had a story to tell, one that made everything make even less sense. I hadn't seen Morgan in 6 years. She was the kind of friend who floated in and out of our lives. Someone Lorna met at a corporate training event and brought around for drinks a few times a year. She was kind, observant, and always seemed like she was trying not to get involved in anything too deep. So when I opened the door and found her standing there holding a coffee cup and looking like she had seen a ghost, I knew this wasn't a casual visit. "I thought you should hear it from someone neutral," she said, stepping into my apartment without waiting for an invitation. She sat, hands fidgeting with the cup sleeve. I don't want to defend her, but I also don't think you know the full picture. I stayed silent. She was spiraling, she said. Long before Austin. Long before Gregory. I told her to go to therapy. She said she didn't need it. She wanted attention, Tucker, from anyone. Because she thought if you weren't loud about loving her, you didn't love her at all. She never said any of that. I muttered, barely holding back a bitter laugh. She didn't know how, Morgan said gently. And she was wrong. So wrong. But the point is, she wasn't trying to replace you. She was trying to find herself and did it in the worst possible way. I nodded, not because I forgave, but because I finally understood something I hadn't before. Her betrayal wasn't about me being unworthy. It was about her being lost. Morgan reached into her bag and handed me a small notebook. "She started writing this after you left. I told her I wouldn't deliver it unless I thought you were ready." I didn't open it right away. I thanked her, walked her to the door, and stood there for a long time after she left, staring at the tiny book in my hands like it might catch fire. When I finally opened it, the first page simply said, "This version of me doesn't deserve you. But maybe someday, the next one will." There were pages of reflections, apologies, unfiltered thoughts, not just about me, but about herself, her emptiness, her guilt. For the first time, I saw her not as a villain, but as a deeply flawed, scared person who had no idea how to be loved without breaking everything around her. And somehow, that set me free. I didn't go back to her. That chapter was closed. But I didn't carry the weight of hate anymore. I had learned what I needed to, about her, about us, and most importantly, about myself. A year later, I met someone new. Someone quiet, kind, the kind of person who doesn't need fireworks to feel connection. We talk about everything. No secrets. No guessing games. Just honest, slow-growing trust. And me? I'm still a little broken. Still learning to be loud in my own way. But I'm not invisible anymore. Not to her. And not to myself. Sometimes the most painful endings are the only paths to the right beginning. That's the end of this story on Reddit Confessions. What moment hit you the hardest? Was it the shoebox, the screenshot, or the silent walkout? Comment below your thoughts. And if you've ever had to walk away from someone who didn't see your worth. And don't forget, subscribe to Reddit Confessions for more unforgettable stories.